Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful night with the Virtual Tasting Society. I'm Jane Kilkenny and subbing for Vadim Perlowski, who's off working once again tonight. We are joined by Sara Ahlgrim from Dark Arts. She's the spirit guide. Please give her a big round of applause. Welcome. And
Thank you.
Sara, thanks for joining us. This is going to be fun. And we have a whole bunch of samples in front of us.
We do.
Tell us about yourself. Give us a tasting order, however you want to get that started.
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate being on. We do have 8 samples tonight, so this should be fun, as Michael pointed out. Um, like you said, my name's Sarah. Some of you may know me from the YouTube channel It's Bourbon Night, but I am currently a spirit guide with Dark Arts Whiskey House. And there I do a number of things, including leading guest experiences like tastings. Sometimes I jump behind the bar. I'm also on the tasting panel, so I get to help a little bit with product development. I do festivals. I clean the bathrooms. You name it, I can do it. Yeah, so today we've got a little bit of a selection of both our core lineup, which would be like our flagship products that are always available on the shelf, and then a couple of limited releases, as well as a few single barrels to taste through. And hopefully, this will give everyone a good sense of the range at what we're doing at Dark Arts. Between all of our sources, we're sourcing from currently 8 different distilleries across Kentucky and Indiana, multiple different mash bills. And then from there, we're tasting and pulling either exceptional single barrels or creating small batch blends. And then from that point, we might choose to finish those in a variety of wine casks from all over the world, different spirit casks from all over the world, or a variety of wood stay finishes. So all in all, we've got about 100 different product iterations. So really 8 is fair to taste through. It's not too big of an ask.
That's going to be great. So, just in case you guys can't get to the chat, we're doing the
Tasting
toasted
order.
Mizunara first, then the barely legal, the sweet and sour mash, Sauterne finished bourbon, the American single malt, the blunt blend volume 3, the toasted Amburana rye, and then the ripple rye. So that's our order for tonight. And they very kindly have given us two lovely little Dark Arts branded Glencairns to raffle off at the end of the night. So stick around for that. And hey, I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's
Are
go.
you ready? All right, I'm
Yeah,
ready.
let's jump
Okay, so
in.
amazing. So we're going to start with the toasted Mizunara finished bourbon. This one is going to be again in our like core lineup. So we're going to distribute this. We're in 33 states now. So this is the newest to our core lineup, but should be readily available on the shelf. This one is always going to be bottled at 100 proof, 64 corn, 24 rye, 12% malted barley. And let's see, this is a Kentucky bourbon. This is non-age stated, but tends to hover around that 5.5 to 6.5 year range. Mm. I'm a big fan of Mizunara. Typically, when you see it used in whiskey, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar that it can drive price up, being that it is a limited resource and that it can only come from Japan, which is an island, so it is geographically limited. And those trees can take 200 years to come to full maturation, so we got to wait a long time for those, for that wood to mature to get the staves to make this. But this is actually our entry level product. We sell this at the Whiskey House for $59.99. And for me, this one plays the field in a lot of ways, being that it's 100 proof and that Mizunara, you'll notice, gives a very delicate oak influence, very light, like sandalwood, kind of, I call it like sugar cookie or toasted marshmallow kind of notes, very mellow and easy. So it's approachable enough for someone who's kind of a newcomer to whiskey, but then for those of you who are, as you are in this virtual tasting society live stream, I'm assuming that we've got some experts in here. And a lot of people don't have a ton of experience with Mizunara. And at the very least, we have that 100 proof, right? So we're not going sub 100 proof. The majority of the things that we do at Dark Arts are cask strength. So our core lineup is the exception to that, but all of our single barrels are cask strength. Even still, we're not going lower than 100 here.
I'm a huge fan of Mizunara. We
Yeah.
we got lucky and tried a couple of different things very early on in the exploration, and I think anything in Mizunara pretty much blew everyone away. So it's kind of
Mm,
just jump right in with that one. I mean, this is
yeah.
delicious.
This one is my whenever I do festivals and stuff, this is my like it's an easy drinker, sometimes too easy. So like, you know, if I'm talking I call it my speaking juice. So if I'm, entertaining people for 4 hours at a festival, sometimes I'm like, and one for you and one for me. But you gotta watch out with this one because the one for me is can stack up really quick.
So you said you're sometimes you jump behind the bar at Dark Arts.
Yeah.
Are you playing with these in cocktails at all? And
Oh, absolutely. I actually have a few cocktails on the menu, which I'm very proud of and honored to be, they ask for my opinion, which is nice. I just did we're working on a nitro coffee cocktail, essentially an espresso martini, that uses the toasted Amburana rye that we will get to in a few minutes. That's my recipe. It's called a Nocturne Noir. And it's the Amburana rye with cold brew and two types of banana liqueur. Um, Strangely, it doesn't taste like banana at all. The banana liqueur actually brings out the like, and again, we'll talk about this later, but there's a coconut tropical note in the Amburana rye that the banana highlights. So it actually doesn't taste like banana. It makes it taste like a coconut espresso martini, which is pretty cool. I also have a cocktail on the menu called the All Seeing Eye that uses a white port finished bourbon. I lovingly refer to it as a cold toddy. It's a more complex, like, but kind of a hot toddy version. It uses a chamomile infused honey syrup that I did. And yeah, I'm working on some new spring cocktails. So I get to play around with these a lot, and that's a lot of fun. And like I said, also on the tasting panel, I was just working on a blend today for a big batch of bourbon to go into some Oloroso sherry barrels. So I'm very fortunate to have used my 10 plus years in, working in the whiskey industry and doing reviews and things to now apply that to tasting, which is exciting.
I'm all over the cold toddy. That just sounds fantastic.
It's really, really good. I like don't want to toot my own horn, but yeah, it's it's sweet and yet also very booze forward. Yeah, they in the winter I would indulge. There's just something that's like so soft, easy, and delicate about the Miz, especially being at the age statement it is. That I mean, it's reading about where it should be, but there's so much flavor imparted from those toasted Mizunara oak staves. And again, this just being like the lower end of what we're doing. I think it's nice. We're also doing this mash bill in our single barrel program. We do some apple brandy finishes in this one, that 64, 24, 12 in that 5.5, 6.5 range, as well as some cognac finishes. I love the cognac finishes on this mash bill. It's really nice.
Sounds fascinating. The nose on this is so light and it's
Mm,
pleasant, but then you get into it and it's rich and full and there's so much flavor. And
yeah.
that Mizunara just really shines on it. This is wonderful
Mm,
stuff.
yeah. Like I said, this one's my get you in trouble because it's easy and drinkable, but also something that you want to come back to. So I keep sipping it. And then before I know it, I'm like, oops, like right now.
Yeah, Mizunara is really nice and subtle. It's really, really solid.
Yeah. It's a good, I like this one in our core lineup. One that we don't have today, which I think maybe you all have covered in the past, was our French toasted French oak finished bourbon. And when I'm doing guided tastings at the whiskey house, we have like different oak chip samples in like a nosing vessel for sensory experience. And we have the Mizunara, the French oak, and then the Amburana. And just it's crazy to see the differences in the oak from around the world. Um, Again, based on tree varietals and all these things, but like that Mizunara is so light, delicate, and easy. You can almost not smell it. I mean, it's there, but it's so delicate compared to when you get to the French oak. It's like you walked into a coffee shop, right? You're getting like caramel and vanilla and mocha and chocolate, and it's just really intense. And then the Amburana is like cinnamon coconut, really intense. So the Miz is just it's very chill.
Yeah, Tim mentioned in the comments that there's a sweetness to it, like the sugar cookie you mentioned, but it has that light, complex wood note that is so typical of the Mizunara cask finish. It's really nice.
Yeah.
So,
Snickerdoodle is also a note that's been given a lot because there's like a slight baking spice with that 24% rye in there and the complexity of the oak, but then the sweetness of it. So it's like sugar cookie plus.
mhm.
I go more like sugar cookie whenever I taste through the single barrels of these for our private barrel program. I get a lot of like toasted marshmallow, which is one of my favorite notes ever, like burnt marshmallow all day.
Yeah. Jason just dropped in that a couple of drops of water really opened it up and added some apple Cheerios to it.
I love that.
Everyone's very creative with their descriptions.
Oh, I love a good tasting note.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like more of an atmosphere. Like it's not just a specific thing, but more of like painting a picture. I don't know. It's nice. That's one of my favorite things about whiskey is that we can all just like sit around and talk about that kind of thing, right? Like we're all tasting the same thing, but we're coming from different experiences and can share those and like meld them into this one conversation.
Yeah. Whiskey is a conversation.
It sure is.
Anyone else got something to say about the Mizunara? Y'all are so shy tonight.
Don't be shy. They just need to get through samples 2 and 3, and then they'll open right up.
Yeah, and then we won't be able to talk
Well,
over 'em.
I'm not shy.
Yeah, there you go.
So, Sarah,
Hello.
we came to see you just after Thanksgiving last year. And
Yes.
I couldn't figure out Eastern time, and we showed up at a different distillery too late, and you guys accommodated us. And we had a wonderful experience. If anybody out there is thinking about going to Dark Arts, I will say that that is one of the best whiskey experiences we had. We had my wife and I and a friend, and we did the thief your own experience and got to try 12 of the 14 barrels that you guys had on the floor. Just an awesome experience. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for saying that. That's so kind of you. I'm really happy that you had a good time. That's like my passion is making sure that people come and get good, like have a good experience. Whiskey is about what's in the bottle, but I think, you know, right now where we're at, as so many people are making such great things that it is what's about in the bottle, but it's about more than that, right? It's about the whole package. And so that's what I get excited about for work every day is like that you would remember something like that. So thanks for sharing that. Oh, hello. Are you on mute? You're on mute.
I
There you
said
go.
Mary's got the t-shirt on.
I love it. Way to represent. Thank you. I didn't even wear my t-shirt. You're doing better than me. Well, are we ready to move on to the barely legal? I don't know.
I think we are.
All right, awesome. I'm not gonna lie. In our core lineup. I think this is like my baby. I love this one a lot. I love this mash bill. I love when we take this and apply a finish to it, especially a barely legal bourbon with a Cabernet Sauvignon finish. Is like I'm not really a Cab Sauv girl on my own, but with the barely legal, it just works. So I'm sure all of you know or could guess as to why we call this barely legal. Um, anyone? Anyone? You're right. It's close.
Young whiskey.
No,
Oh,
51 corn.
that's correct. It's 51% corn. So it is just barely legally qualifying as a bourbon because it is 51% corn, 39% rye, and 10% malted rye. And that malted rye is, in my opinion, what really does it with this one. Like that's what makes it unique and interesting flavor wise. I love a high rye bourbon. So that 39% rye is already very enticing to me. This is always also going to be bottled at cask strength. Um, we do blend these just like the Mizunara. People always ask, like, how many barrels go into a blend? That's part of our job on the tasting panel is to say how many, because it's done to taste. It's not done by count. So they'll say, I'll get an assignment that's like, I'd like 10-ish barrels to go into this blend. If it's 6 and it's perfect, fine. If it's 16 and it's perfect, that's fine too. But we get a parameter, and I really like having that flexibility, and that's something that, being smaller and nimble, more of a craft distillery, we get to do that. And so yeah, it just depends on the size, but or depends on the, whatever we feel is the appropriate size based on taste. It's less prescriptive. But this one is 8 years at the youngest in this blend. Because we're doing that blend at cask strength of those barrels, we're shooting for about 115 proof every time, but not adding any water. So we're never going to hit it right on the head probably. So this one that I have in front of me is 112.32 proof. The one that you have in front of you might be 116. It might be 113. It's going to hover around that area though. And again, that 51, 39, 10 mash bill. I just love that malted rye. Like it's just something about it. I call this one my workhorse at the bar because we use this one. This is our staple in our old fashioned. We currently have a barrel aged black Manhattan on the bar that uses this in it. It's delicious, but it can withstand being poured over a large cube, right? Because of that proof and the high rye. And it's a great neat pour.
Where you were saying it holds up to finishing cask. I mean, ryes tend to hold up better to finishing cask. And this
Agreed.
is so high rye that, I mean, yeah, a cab or anything.
We do some mostly cab. We do some Oloroso sherry with this one, which is nice as well. And then I believe all of the orange wine finishes that we have are currently using this mash bill. But my favorite is the cabs. Like I just love that fruit note with that like really rich berry note with the spice and that malted rye on this one. It's got like it's kind of like chocolate berry kind of a thing going on when you get that finish. And I highly recommend it. Like anytime I get to go pull anything from the single barrel cabinet to show groups and things, I'm always going to pull a finished Barely Legal. It's one of my favorites.
We've talked about this before here. Jane is not a fan of rye,
Mhm.
but if it's a malted rye, she tends to get on board. Is that right, Jane?
Yep. Usually, malted rye is something that I don't like rye, the grain.
Mm.
So rye, the whiskey is hard for me, and malted rye
Yeah.
tends to make it be something that I can actually handle. Mark was asking if this is available in all markets.
Mm. On our website, darkartswhiskey.com, there's a map, the store locator map. We are currently in 33 states, and this is one of our core products. So we will widely distribute this. So this should be any state that we're in, this is offered through distribution. Whether or not a store tends to pick it up is up to them. But I will say that this is probably our most carried item. Without looking at a spreadsheet, off the top of my head, I would say like this one is one that a lot of people carry. It's a very big, in my opinion, a crowd pleaser. Fun fact, on Halloween, we did with our core lineup, we did a candy pairing, and by we I mean me. We did a candy pairing at the bar, but my favorite one that I did overall was the Barely Legal with a Whopper, so a malted milk ball essentially, and that like chocolatey maltiness with this is. I highly recommend it. If you've got, you probably don't have Whoppers handy, but if you have any of this sample left over and you decide to revisit later, anything like that, or just chocolate in general is really nice with this one.
That sounds really good. Let's see, we've got some comments. Mike says this drink's so smooth.
Mm,
Ryan says this is really good. I love the sweet chocolate caramel type flavor, and he also
yeah.
likes malted rye. Dr. Mo says very tasty and savory. The malted rye, I believe, carries the spirit nicely.
Mhm.
And Mark is going to be asking his local store to get it for him.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, I will never turn down a pour of the barely legal.
Yeah. And Tony says it's very nice with a couple of drops of water as well.
I just put a few drops in mine. And I will say, I think a couple of drops does really bring out, like without the drops, it gives more savory, I think. With a couple drops of water, you get that balance of the sweet and savory, like more of that. I don't know who's, apologies, I don't know whose name it was, but who was talking about like the caramel, like kind of that nature, that sweet nature of it. You get a little bit more of that balance of savory and sweet with a drop or two of water.
Yeah. Ryan mentioned the chocolate caramel, and Dr. Mo
That's
said
fine.
tasty and savory. So I think
Hmm.
everybody's
Yeah,
picking up part of it.
spot on.
Hey, Sarah, what's the price point on this typically?
At the whiskey house, we sell this one for $89.99.
I found this on the web.
Thanks.
And just to be clear, you mentioned this is Cabernet finished, but this comes in multiple other finishes? Fairly
So
legal?
this one in particular is actually unfinished. In our core lineup, this one is unfinished. However, we do offer this mash bill in different single barrels. We do Cabernet finishes typically with this one, or Oloroso sherry or orange wine. Those are available through our private barrel program. And whether or not they're available in your market kind of depends on if there's a bar, restaurant, or liquor store that has selected one. But those are my favorite ones to show during barrel picks. Is the barely legal wine finishes are they're my favorites.
Question, Sarah. I see on Sealbox it has the barely legal. It's obviously on the label it says 7.5 years, but they have it listed as 6 years. I'm guessing that's just a mistype on their part, yeah.
Probably April this month marks our 3rd year anniversary of Dark Arts Whiskey House, founded in April of 2023. And when we started and we're developing this core lineup, the product that we had access to is obviously like younger. If we had purchased lots of things, they've aged up since then, and so maybe that was true a couple years ago, and maybe it just hasn't been updated. But now, like, and on my bottle, I don't know if you can see this, but it
Oh,
says 8,
cool.
and so that's the youngest. And a lot of our things are skewing upwards right now. So like for me, with my toasted Amburana, that's 7.5. That maybe a couple years ago would have said 6.5. Yeah, most of our stuff is going to start skewing over the next year or two. 7.5 to 9 for most things in core lineup and limited annual releases. Single barrels, we do a range of 5.5 years to today. I was sampling someone on 14-year Pinot de Charente finished rye,
Oh, wow.
which was lovely, by the way.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I've
at
got,
10
I
a.m. I was enjoying some 14-year Pinot de Charente finished fry. That was
love
great.
that.
Yeah,
I've got
not a
a,
bad way to spend a morning.
oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I've got a 10-year single barrel pick from Taste Bottle Shop. So I'm adding that to my tasting tonight.
Nice.
And that brings up a good question is you were saying everything is skewing older. Is that because in the state of affairs of the whiskey world, stuff is becoming more available for NDPs?
Yes, I think it's a several factors, and I'm going to preface this statement by I don't get to see all the way behind the curtain. Like, I am very fortunate to be invited into tasting panel things, and I will get opportunities to weigh in on if we have the offer to purchase barrels. I get to weigh in on tasting them and deciding whether or not we buy them based on the specs and what we're going to do with them. So I'm very fortunate to be involved in that, but I don't have full visibility to all the back end, or like, I don't know every single barrel that exists in our warehouse. So I'm just going to preface with that. So don't quote me, but quote you. It's on recording. So my understanding is like when we started and as we have grown, we have amassed and purchased um, lots of different, especially the mash bills that we use over and over and over again. So the MGP 6036-4 bourbon mash bill. Um, there may have been a time where we purchased 80 barrels of that. And maybe some of those are still hanging around. And when we first purchased them, if they were 6.5 or 7 years, well, now they're going to be, 8.5 or 9 years, or maybe they're coming up on 10 years. And then again, so there's that aspect of it. But then you're right. Yeah. With the current climate of things, I think there are some larger distilleries that are maybe got out, I don't want to say ahead of their skis, based on projections of 6 to 8 years ago. Um, there was the concept of growth with no ceiling and that we should just keep producing and doing because it's just going to keep going up. But now we've hit, I don't want to say that ceiling, but there are factors in play now that weren't then that are changing the way they're operating. And so fortunately for them, they can, in ways that they can be nimble, which is to evaluate what they have on hand and say, well, we want to recoup some cash or some flow of things. And so we're going to sell these things off to a barrel broker. Or this doesn't fit our profile. We really want to focus on these things. So even though it's great, we're going to let it go just to rebalance some things. And that honestly, it may not be good for the big guys. I think for us, this is kind of our time to shine because we're getting access to things that maybe people would not have let go before, or at prices maybe they wouldn't have let them go before. And we get to be selective. So just because something comes across our desk in terms of you can purchase this, that doesn't mean that we're going to just sign a check and say, okay, here you go. Like we go through um, like as a team, we evaluate and we decide what we're going to do with something and how we're going to use it before it gets purchased. So um, it's nice. Like today, I had a phone call and it was like, we have the opportunity to buy these 4 things. And I think there was one of them that I was like, I'd be interested in that, but otherwise I would probably pass. Um, because you can't do it all. It's neat though. It's a cool opportunity. I didn't ever think that I would be here where someone was asking me what I think.
Sounds like
That was a very long-winded answer. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. We like the nerdy side.
I get very excited.
Yeah, that's the best part, though. We like that too. And Tony mentioned that it was very nice with a couple of drops of water, and I gave it a shot, and it almost brought out a chocolate cherry note for me.
And that's why I think it works so well with a Cabernet finish, is
Mhm.
because you're getting more of that like berry cherry from the wine, but you're already getting that chocolate cherry from the base. And so it just like sings.
Uh,
That's,
I,
yeah.
yeah, I like a
If,
good cab, so I imagine that would be one I would be quite fond of.
if you ever come into the whiskey house, we'll taste them.
Sounds great.
Great.
Sarah, I'm curious, have y'all done a ruby port finish for any of them?
We do some red port finishes. I don't have anything. So a lot of what we do is NDA, and I want to say like it's so NDA that even I don't know some things. So like when I see things like we have red port finishes, I don't know what that is, like, or
Yeah,
white
yeah.
port finishes, like I don't know what that is or where it comes from. Um, and that is pretty intent. I don't know if it's intentional on both the supplier and our side, just for purposes of there. Not that we won't be copied, but you know what I mean. Just like keeping things close to the chest.
Totally.
So it's our red port finishes could be ruby port. I don't know that. I just know that
Got
it's red.
Gotcha.
That's not helpful.
No, it's totally okay.
I think a little bit of mystery kind of goes with the brand. I'm
Yeah,
just given into that.
100%.
Are we ready for the sweet and sour mash honey finished?
I think we are.
All right. For this one, I don't have a bottle. I pulled a sample from work um, just to have for here. But as you can see, don't feel sorry for me. I have plenty behind me and some right here as well. So
Fair good crop there.
yes, and I get to taste them at work. So yes, I'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not feeling too sorry for you right now.
You should have.
Yeah, I've been dying to try this one.
So I am not I don't tend to lean sweet when it comes to finishes. I don't prefer sweet. But honey is something that I like honey from a textural standpoint. I love that, like, if you've ever melted honey in the microwave or like put it in your tea and it's just this like coating sensation that I think is what Macaulay was going for here. He tried over 80 different varietals of honey to find the one that he wanted to use for this. And in my opinion, we try to do finishes in a balance that the finish doesn't take over, but it's a complementary thing. Um, I think a lot of people think about honey finishes and they think about like wild turkey American honey. And I could understand why that would be like, but it's also for someone. It's a very good seller for them. So it's for someone. It's not for me, but it does appeal to someone. But this I like because it gives a balance with that sweet and sour mash blend. The the sour mash, the 36% rye, and the sweet mash, 24% rye, both still considerable amounts of rye, are holding up to that honey. And then the honey's done in a way that it's not so overpowering. It's still in balance.
It's super fragrant,
Very.
and the palate is just it's so silky. It's got that creamy thing.
That's the thing, though. It's
Yeah.
like, again, like the texture of melted honey
Yeah.
with whiskey. Yeah, I get floral, like a little bit of like lemony zest kind of thing.
Yeah.
Candied ginger.
Yeah.
What's the base whiskey? Is it a higher rye?
So it's a blend. It's a proprietary blend. It's trademarked. Um, Sweet and sour mash blend. So the sweet mash is a Kentucky 64-24-12, which is the same base as the Mizunara. So if you want to Google 64-24-12 mash bill from Kentucky and you know where Macaulay Minton, his history, our chief alchemist, then you can piece that together very quickly. So there's that. That one's going to be, again, probably around the 6 year range at the youngest. And then the sour mash is an MGP 60-36-4 mash bill.
So higher. The
Wait,
higher of
where's the 21%? You know what? Don't quote me on that. They're both higher rise, over 20%. I could be mistaken on that one. I think it might be actually a 21% rye from MGP. But that one's gonna skew more like the 8 years at the youngest. And so those two things are blended together and then rested in the honey cask. And it's a cask that had previously rested honey. We're not pouring a bunch of honey in and stirring it up. Yeah. I just love
yeah.
how creamy it is. And I have tasted the source honey from this, and it's not fair. No one should be allowed to taste that. Nothing should taste that good. I don't know where it comes from or how. Anyway, it's not right. It should be allowed.
Yeah, usually I would consider this way too sweet for me. But I mean, if you handed me this, I would not say no. I
Yeah.
mean, I would happily drink this. Which I'm really surprised at because it is far sweeter than I would normally want.
I agree. It skews a little sweet for me as well. I like that it starts with that sweet, creamy kind of honey thing, but then the rye kind of kicks in at the end. So what I'm left with on the finish is the reminiscent of the honey sweetness, but that rye presence. And I think that's what makes this really balanced. If anyone ever has had the pleasure of having the Bell Mead honey, I think that we all know that that is the honey finish that everyone who ever hopes to do a honey aspires to do something as good or better than that, especially like the original batch. So not saying that that was the inspiration, but that is the measuring stick for all things honey.
That's fair. I I don't particularly gravitate towards sweet either, but this is amazing. Most of the time, I think anything honey is just way too much, and this is
Mm.
much right on. I've got that really nice melty honey at the beginning that kind of ends up as being like a ginger biscuit at the back end.
Yes. I love
Um,
the ginger note on it. Yeah.
yeah. Mike was saying that this is dangerously good. Paul
Yes.
said he got a Luxardo cherry juice and milk chocolate. Um, Jason says the melted part is spot on, almost heavily caramelized.
Yeah.
JB said the honey mouthfeel definitely helps it linger. And Dr. Mo says a few drops of water really brings out the honey tones after the honey dissolves in water better than the alcohol.
Mm.
And Brandon is agreeing on the drops of water and the honey
Okay.
sweetness.
So this one in particular, that we just sampled was a single barrel selection. We have six or seven more single barrels that we will release at the Whiskey House. They'll also be released out in market. They were single barrel selections, but we'll have them in a rotation at the Whiskey House, as well as a 7-barrel blend called a long strange drip. And one of the things that I want to do at the Whiskey House is do a honey flight and a guided tasting of a honey flight, just to explore like the differences. Again, even just like it's the same honey, it's the same blend of whiskeys, but we're still getting these differences. And I think that that's really fun. So if you're ever around for that, let me know.
I will make sure to mention it.
Perfect.
It sounds awesome.
I
And
know
then,
everyone can't make it to Lexington, but
well, actually,
6-7. I know. I said as soon
I
as
know.
I said it, as soon as I said it.
Not this Saturday, but next Saturday, I
Mhm.
might be in Lexington. The group of us are coming out. A group of guys are coming out to do a couple barrel picks.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to convince a few guys to shoot over to Lexington, and not just hang out around Louisville.
Are you talking about the 25th?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know how to tell you this. But I will be in Austin for Whiskey Riot the 25th through like the 29th. I
The other
know.
the other place that I go a lot.
I know. I'm sorry. And I said this the other day. I'm like, oh, 2 ships passing in the night. And then I said that to someone the other day, and they were like, what's the alternative? They don't pass, they crash into each other. That's awful.
Well, crashing in could be fun.
Okay. That's what usually happens when whiskey's involved. We just
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm sorry I'll miss you. But if you come in, they'll treat you well. I'll let them know you're coming. If you just let me know.
Will do.
And if anyone's around the Austin area and is coming to Whiskey Riot, also I'll be there.
JP said if you're going to Austin, hit up Salt Lick outside of town and get a bison rib.
Oh, I've been to Salt Lake before. But I appreciate that recommendation. That's a solid recommendation. Well, if and when everyone's ready, no rush. I've just poured myself the Sauterne. Am I going too fast? I don't know.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I think we're keeping up with you.
Great. So this is a 60-36-4, so that's 60 corn, 36 rye, 4% malted barley, Sauterne finish bourbon. I did not write the proof down on my sample because I just am doing a bad job. But I know it's cask strength.
Yeah. Ours is 53.2%.
Okay. When
We'll know
timed right, I love the Sauterne finish. The Sauterne finish can be like one of my favorite things. It has this interesting bell curve to it that I found where it can be a little like smoky barbecue on if you don't catch it quite at the right moment. But if you catch it at the right moment, it has this like really rich, complex berry confectionery note. We have one in our Thief from the Barrel. I believe Mark was telling us about that earlier, his experience. I want to say that's the right name that I read on the screen.
That was right.
Perfect. Look at me.
Go
There
ahead.
is one from that room that when we first got it, I described it as a powdered sugar jelly filled donut. Like that's the way it tasted. And so I think it's kind of tough to catch it right at that moment. But if you can, it's excellent. But on this one, I get a slight oaky smoky note on the nose, but there is still that sweetness, that like jammy berry sweetness as well.
Yeah, a lot of people are commenting on the color.
Mm,
The color is just amazing.
yes, it is lovely.
Yeah. Brendan said that the only Sauterne finish he didn't care for, but this is a good marriage of the two.
Oh, good. I'm happy. I think, yeah, this one's a really great snapshot in time for a Sauterne. I am generally of the mindset if I get a box of tasting homework and I come across a Sauterne that's like absolutely perfect, if it's supposed to go in the private barrel program, I'm like, no, I think you should bottle that today, like right now. It's done, it's cooked, it's finished. I have a theory about seasonality in Sauterne, which I will have to, you know, live another year to tell whether or not that comes to fruition. The nice thing about dark arts is that it's a bit of art and science. Like I can have a theory about something and have some data points, but it doesn't really necessarily. Bourbon is that way. Like you know, you can track things and have your measurements and your temperatures and your science, but it's just going to do its thing. And so we have, like I said, we have a Sauterne in the Thief from the Barrel room that sits in a window that gets a lot of sun. And in the winter, it got really oaky, smoky, barbecuey for me. And it was originally my favorite thing because it had that like confectionery berry jelly donut thing going on. And then as soon as it got cold outside, I stopped liking it so much. But now that it's warming back up in Lexington, um, I find myself gravitating back towards that barrel. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, keeping a Sauterne diary, I guess.
Oh, that makes
When
sense.
when they do the tastings and you say, "Oh, don't just bottle this right now." Do they ever do they ever say, "Okay, well, Sarah said bottle it, let's bottle it."
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So
Like,
basically you're one of the master blenders there, essentially.
I would never take Macaulay's title, which is chief alchemist. But I do really appreciate being like, my opinion is considered and regarded. And I think and we're working with so much product now because we are growing so fast. Like we went from 3 years ago, just starting the company to now we're in 33 states. We're doing barrel picks. Like I had one today, I have another one tomorrow. We're doing all these selections. We're at all these festivals and things. So we're growing a lot. Our case counts are growing. Um, it's more than one person alone could taste. So a lot of what I do is support so that if Macaulay needs to come in and spot check something or make a final call, I can present 3 blends to him that I did, and he can say, this one is the one I want to proceed with. But also, yes, if like today there was a very large quantity of that 14-year-old Pinot de Chiron rye that someone selected, not a full barrel of, and the question was, should we dump half the barrel and bottle that and leave the rest to rest, or do we bottle it all right now because it's that good? And I was like, it's that good, bottle it today. Like, it needs to go to bottling. And the answer was, all right, we'll do.
I think that is that's really great to be in a place where your voice can be heard like that. You're right. It's not like all the time they're going to listen to what you say, but
Yeah,
just the fact that they will even entertain listening to you,
yeah,
that's exciting, and it just makes
it's
me
an
like
honor.
it makes me like the brand more too because they're doing
Thanks.
the collective thing there.
Yeah, we try to take the cool thing. We on our tasting panel, we all have different backgrounds. We have different experience. I'm coming from a world where I got to do a lot of bourbon reviews of all kinds of brands, and even just like outside of American whiskey, Scotch and Irish whiskey, things like that. Macaulay obviously comes from a very science background, as well as like all the tasting work and the distillation that he did with Wilderness Trail. Jacob Ripto is also on our tasting panel. He has a background at both Castle and Key Distilling and Journeyman Distillery. So he's got his unique perspective, and we all come from these different places. And we're not the only ones. We all weigh in, but these are 3 unique perspectives that come together to help form, that's the point of the panel, right? Obviously, it's a democracy until it's not, right? Macaulay is his vision is the lens through which everything passes, but we all have the opportunity to learn from each other and each other's unique backgrounds and perspectives. My most favorite annoyance to our CEO is when he says, "Hey, I got the opportunity to buy these barrels. What do you think?" My first thing I'm always going to say is, "Well, I need to taste it first." And we're like, "Well, obviously." But I'm like, "What are the specs?" Because having reviewed whiskey for 10 years, I'm a little bit plugged into the consumer side. And so, I mean, I need to know what the specs are. Where does that fall in the market? What are the competitors? You can't, and I'll be the first person to say, I don't know what you want to charge for that, but no one's going to spend more than X number of dollars on that. And if the answer is, well, we can't take it on at that price point, I'm like, well, then you shouldn't get it. Because it's not going to work. That equation, that math doesn't math. Yeah. So I'm very fortunate to be like listened to.
Well,
I drank for 12 years for a reason.
but you're clearly bringing something big to the table.
Thank
the
you.
fact
I
that you can
appreciate you
hone in
saying
on price points, because that's one thing that a lot of times folks in this group will ask is like, well, why didn't you bottle it at cask strength? And then it gets into the economics of it, and we a lot of us really vibe with that, so we understand it when you bring that to the table.
Just to clarify, is this a public stream or a private stream?
It's private.
Private.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Just to make sure.
The YouTube channel is there, but
I figured, and what I'm gonna say is not anything that I would think that would be hush hush. But for example, I got a phone call yesterday about, hey, we have the opportunity to purchase some 20-year, what was it, Dickel. And I'm like, okay, well, I can get into some older Dickel, but for what's the price point? What are the specs? And you're fighting an uphill battle. Because you're going to have to convince people, first of all, that it doesn't taste like Flintstones vitamins. And and it's really difficult to do that unless you can get them in the whiskey house to taste it. And so I'm like, and we had to take a certain case count or like a certain volume of it. And I was just like, unless I taste it and it absolutely blows me away, like it's a no. Because we also have other things on the table to where it's like strategy as well.
What was that transition like from just drinking and giving your opinions? And mind you, I always skewed your way than Chad's way, but to not only giving your opinions, but then having that have to, like Kate said, having that business mindset behind it.
It's weird. Just because, well, coming from It's Bourbonite, I was half owner of that business. And so we made decisions and I didn't have to ask anyone else. And so then I'm moving now into a subordinate, sounds like an awful word, but I suppose that's appropriate. Not an owner, but an employee who is also grown into an advisor / trusted palate. And so it's not my money that I'm playing with, but I'm a very risk averse as well. When I'm asked, I try to be very thoughtful because it's not my money. So I'm going to be more conservative when it comes to should we buy, shouldn't we buy, like, but it's interesting. It's more pressure somehow because if it's my decision for me, I feel confident in taking, like, if I feel good, I'm great just taking that decision and going with it. If it's a barrel pick and I say we're going to go with A over B, I feel good about that. I still feel good about my decisions. It's just like there's more on the line because it's not just me. And the decisions I make affect or the decision that we make collectively affect the entire team, affect the brand reputation. And I take it very seriously.
Well,
Sarah, I just wanted to ask real quick. For the Sauterne, is it just like a case by case basis where you're going to get that like sweet, smoky flavor, or would you say for the majority of the part, the Sauterne finish is going to carry what this sample we have here will with the smoky sweetness?
This okay. Both. Mostly case by case basis. At some point, they will tend to hit this smoky sweet note. This particular bottle, back in December, we had to pick a single barrel to do for our repeal day celebration. And I had about 30 different single barrels to choose from. And this is the one I chose for that. And so we're still, like that it got bottled, we're doing it, it's the whole thing. This is a great example of what our Sauterne finish can be.
Oh yeah.
If chosen at the right time. I have tasted some through that have been suggested for our private barrel program where I've tasted them and I'm like, this tastes like dry rub barbecue. For me, that's like too much in the smoky direction. I want the fruit. And that's kind of why I'm keeping this like weird Sauterne diary mentally of my theory is in the summer, whatever changes in the wood, whatever changes with the whiskey, like I think that maybe more of that fruit note comes back in the summer. So ask me again in August because I'll have a better answer. And hopefully I can pass that learning on. That's another cool thing about what we do is that we're always learning and adjusting and dialing in. I just did a blunt blend volumes 1 through 3 tasting with a small group earlier today. And it's really cool. It's less about like which one's your favorite and more about like watch how we learned through the process to create something better year over year. So the first year it was very like minty and hot. Blunt blend, by the way, is a blend of 7 to 8 year rise. Now the later years are 8 years. 95.5 MGP rise. Some finished in Madeira casks, some finished in Armagnac casks and then blended together, cask strength. So as we know, 95.5 rise can skew minty sometimes. And in the very first blunt blend, it's clear that a lot of that mint was coming through. And that you can see by tasting volumes 1 to 2 to 3, how we learned that the mintiness doesn't lend itself to that Armagnac and Madeira finish. It doesn't pick it up as well. So now whenever I get 75 bottles of 95.5 rye to evaluate and I make notes on it, if it comes across minty, it's not a candidate for a future blend. And you can taste as we've learned. And so same thing with the Sauterne, like I'm trying to learn. Is it temperature based? Is it seasonality? Is this just a random theory that's because I'm tasting? It's just a one-off. It's just a coincidence. I don't know. But again, that like echoes back to the concept of dark arts overall, which is alchemy, whiskey alchemy. It is science, but it's also art. There are things that are unknown that we're always going to be tinkering and trying to figure out. And sometimes there is unknowable things like we won't know. But we keep trying. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Oh, that was amazing.
Excellent
Thank you.
TED Talk. I was going to say there's a couple of questions up in the comments here. A couple of nice tasting notes. Jason said it tasted like a cruller with a light glaze covered in dark berries.
Yes, that's
Tony
exactly.
thought it was like a grilled plum on the nose with some smoky goodness.
Yes.
Brandon wanted to know how much of barrel picks is your relationship with a broker versus the direct source, like the winery, distillery, cooperage, etc.
I honestly have only ever worked, like I only most of that work is done at the Macaulay and David Pete, who is our CEO. Most of that communication is done at their level. So I don't often get a one-on-one experience with the source, but we do have a local broker that we work with, and all of my experience has been through her, or from what I understand, through other brokers. So I don't believe that any distilleries are reaching out directly to us to say, hey, we have this stuff. Do you want it? The model is kind of, they have extra stock, they sell it off to these brokers who put it in their portfolio, and then they basically shop that portfolio of product to people that they believe is a good fit. Then we taste and we say, yes, this is a good fit for us, or maybe it's a good fit for us. What are we going to do with it? How are we going to use this? Or no, this doesn't really fit. Even though we're experimental and always doing new things, like, no, this isn't it. I can't wait till we get to the American single malt.
I know, I'm dying for that one. Mike asked earlier, it's like, how long is this finished for? Also, that it's the best honey and best Sauterne whiskey finishes he's ever had.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm mostly honored because I chose, like I said, I chose this Sauterne single barrel to be bottled. So that means a lot to me. Again, back to the alchemy and back to the tasting panel. When I talked earlier about when we talk about blending for our core lineup, sometimes it could be 6 or 8 barrels, sometimes it's 16, 18, 20. Who knows? It's more to taste than it's about finding the right balance and taste than it is about the exact prescriptive science of it has to be 12 barrels every single time. Same thing with the aging. I get sample homework every week. I've got boxes and boxes of tiny little samples that look like this, waiting for me every week. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, what a tough job. It must be so hard to be you. And I'm like, well, yesterday at 10 a.m., I had 36 samples to drink through. So I'm like, on a Wednesday morning, that might not be what you want to do. But again, I'm not world's tiniest violin, right? It's all to taste. So it could be 6 months, it could be 12 months, it could be 14 months. How hot was the summer? How cold was the winter? That particular Sauterne barrel could have been extra wet or extra dry. It just depends. Same thing with the staves. Like it really just is all done to taste. And so me and Jacob and Macaulay and anyone else that does tasting panel work will get these samples. And sometimes the objective is taste these and create a 10 plus barrel blend like I did yesterday or today for an Oloroso sherry, for some Oloroso sherry barrels. And so it's okay, we're going to assess for that. Some days it's just, does this pass go? Yes or no? Is this ready or not? If it's not ready, should we check on it in 1 month? 1 month, 3 months, 6 months? When do we check on it again? And then we have a really great warehouse manager who pulls all those samples for us to try out every week. He's bringing new stuff. So it's just ongoing. It's a revolving door of alcohol.
That sounds awesome.
I hope that's what heaven's like.
Exactly. No. I think most of the rest of the comments are like, I don't know if I want to try it with water, being told you really should try it with water. Oh, that was a good call. Yes, indeed.
Oh, yeah.
So, and
I-
Dr. Mo commented that Sauternes have a huge range of complexities and expressions.
Very much, yes.
That makes good sense that it would not be easy to quantify each one as far as like how long finished or how finished. And
Sauterne is like one of, in my opinion, for me when I'm tasting, one of the biggest moving targets. It's very hard to be like, how to know when it's ready. If it goes smoky, like overly smoky, is it going to come back? Like, again, this is a theory that it's my own personal journey. But to know, like, could it come back? Is it going to come back around and come back to that berry note? Or once it goes overly oaky smoky, is it gone? Is that it? I don't think so. But This is my X-Files. I'm gonna get like a video record, or not a video. I'm gonna get a voice recorder, and I'll do like Bourbon X-Files.
There you go. I like it.
That sounds like a podcast a lot of people would tune into.
Really?
Just gonna
Yeah.
say the
Amazing.
same thing. That's
Thanks.
a future podcast right there.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
So, but going back to Jason's comment about water, I feel like because all of these are higher proof, it's
They
pretty
are.
safe to at least try them with some water. And there's a lot of room to play with these. I mean, I think that's partially, I'm guessing that's partially what Dark Arts strives for, because, you know, when there's
Yeah.
enough depth to it, you can add water and play with it and come up with different things. Yeah.
And that's always kind of been like, I understand why proofing down is like, I understand the need to meet certain proofs for consistency. Again, that's why we do with our core lineup. Like our Amburana rye and our French oak are always 108 proof. That Mizunara is always going to be 100 proof. And that's more for, I mean, it's for consistency and just to have something that's maybe a little bit more approachable. But the vast majority of what we do is cask strength. And I've always felt this way. Well, not always. Since I really hit my stride in whiskey, like I would prefer for it to be my choice. So give it to me at cask strength. If that's how I want to drink it, great. That's how I'm going to drink it. If I want to add a couple drops of water, wonderful. I have that opportunity. Put it over a big cube, great. More power to you. Do your thing. But like to be told like, oh, we've taken this thing and we've proofed it down here for you every time. It's when you're a larger distillery, I understand why you have to do that. That's again another advantage that we have as a smaller, more craft experimental distillery is that we don't have to do that. We can put it out at cask strength every time, and then you get to decide what to do with it because these single barrels are just moments in time. When we put these out, again, the barely legal and the Mizunara, those are designed to be more consistent over time, as well as the Amburana rye, which we'll get to. But a lot of these other single barrels and limited releases that we're tasting, these are snapshots in time. Again, like alchemy, sometimes it might happen once and never again. We're going to iterate on things and they might be similar, but maybe you'll never have the same thing twice. I think that's kind of what's exciting about it, though. Like you get a bottle and I don't know. That's life.
I missed one up above. Mary said that the Sauterne would be really great with barbecue.
Mm-hmm. Yes. If I were to like imagine that Sauterne with like a brisket pulled, like not a pulled pork, a pulled pork or like a brisket sandwich. Barbecue sauce. That'd be excellent.
Jason put up a truth is out here gif. Followed by a very important question of if you're doing the whiskey X-Files, who's the Mulder to your Scully?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably my cat. He's around here somewhere. He's sleeping. He's very handsome. So I think that makes sense.
I think we'd be in.
He'll probably join me at some point. He gets very jealous. So
Awesome.
are we ready for the single malt?
Yes, please.
Okay. This warning, vast departure from where we've been and where we're going. This is like, let's call this the intermission. Because we've done 4. This is number 5, and then we have 3 ryes after this. So this is going to be the most outlier of all of the pours, in my opinion. I have never tasted anything like the single malts that we do. And the best way I can describe them when people come in and they're doing like a thief from the barrel experience or they're doing a tasting and they ask about the single malt and they're like, what's it like? Give me some notes. I'm like, imagine if a Speyside Scotch and a crispy Sauvignon Blanc had a baby. And it would be this, which is the weirdest thing I've ever said, but I think you'll get it when you taste it. It's very orchard fruit, apple pear, peach, apricot, like very tropical, and crisp and clean, like a white wine, but it also has this like semi-scotchy vibe. Very weird, very different. You either absolutely love it or you're like, that's not for me. It's an experience, so we will share this experience.
The nose is so interesting.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's not finished at all.
This one is finished technically. We don't do the finishing. It comes to us already finished. So this is a American single malt finished in a red ale cask.
That's crazy. I normally really hate beer finished because I just beer yeast just gets really sour to me, and so I normally don't
I
like.
know what you mean.
I
Mhm.
don't dig it, and I on paper I should love everything Pacific Northwest they produce, and I can't because of it. But
Yeah.
this to me tastes like if you took like those like sour peach candies and somehow finished a barrel in that, and then rested this in that for a minute. The peach
Mhm.
is fucking fantastic.
The peach on the finish, it's
Yeah.
like peach rings, you know, like the
Yeah.
gummies.
Yeah, that's
It's like green apple up front, and then it melds into this like peach ring note. It's weird and funky and fun. Again, this is like an outlier of the range of what we're hand selecting and bringing in. This one is, we have a really great, so this is a particular single barrel. We actually just got this one's sister barrel in our Thief from the Barrel program. It came in about 2 or 3 weeks ago. That is, and I like it better than this one. It's way more like tropical fruit, like papaya, more apple and pear forward, whereas this one lands more peach on the finish, more peach apricot. It is so much fun. Like I love like I said, I've been tasting whiskey for 12 plus years, in a thoughtful way. Don't tell my mom. And I've never tasted anything like this before until I came to Dark Arts.
So for me, every time I taste this, I get these different, over time. Like it first hits me this way, then it morphs into something different, then it morphs into
Mhm.
something else, and then I finally get the red ale on the finish, and I didn't know what I was tasting. I was like, "What is that? What is it?" And then you said the red ale. I was like, "Oh, that's what it
That's
is."
what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But every time I taste it, I kind of think, oh, I know what I'm going to get, and then I taste it
Yeah.
again. And I'm like, oh, that's a little different from the last sip. So
This one is an adventure.
Appreciate a
for
good red
sure.
ale. This one, I'm laughing at Jason because he asked if it was going to be our first perfume rating of the night, and I'm like, yeah, because it would actually do nicely. Thank you very much. I would totally wear this as a perfume. It's got such
Oh, it would be great.
It's got such an interesting nose to it that I don't often get green apple so strongly because it's not a scent that I normally find, but it's green apple
It's green
with-
apple.
with like a slight musky note on top of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? It works, doesn't it?
It does. And that's why when I when I tell people like the best I can do is to compare it to like, again, a Speyside Scotch and a Sauvignon Blanc kind of baby. Because a Sauvignon Blanc to me gives like crisp fruit, especially like orchard fruit, green apple kind of notes to it. But then you get that like sort of musky, earthy thing going on from that Scotch, but not too far off from American whiskey. So not like an Isle of Scotch, but more of like a Speyside. So I'm getting this like non-American whiskey, but not so far away, but then crossed with this like very crisp, floral, green apple thing. I don't know. This one is such a puzzle to me.
It's got
It's so fun though.
Is there a place to find this online? Because I'm Googling and I'm not finding it anywhere. Is it like
We
a
do
special?
not sell this one online. We have 2 different pre-bottled single barrels of it. at the whiskey house. This is one of them. We have an 8 and an 8.5 year that are sister barrels. If you ever see like a peach label or like it's kind of, the label looks like what it tastes like. It's like a peachy tangerine kind of orange label. And then we also have a new barrel that I was talking about that we just got in our Thief from the Barrel program, which if you come into the whiskey house, you can get in a 750 or a 375. So those three are all sisters. But no, unfortunately, right now we do not sell any of these online, nor do we have any in our private barrel selection program because they're very sought after.
But they
So
are at the
for the
distillery.
they are at the distillery. So you'll have to come see me if you want one. Sorry.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't know when I'm coming to Kentucky, but I've got some friends who
Yeah.
live there, so might
We
might have
should
to
keep
visit
these in
for
the
you.
rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely keep these in the rotation. I
Yeah.
figured out what it was that I was smelling. It's green
Mm.
apple and sweet woodruff on the nose.
Oh,
Sweet woodruff is the flower that's used for May wine.
yes. It's
So
very,
a
it
lot of
has
people
that
don't know
floral.
what that is, but they've heard of May wine. And then that stone fruit on the back, it really comes through. And I'm like, the more I smell my wrist, the more I get out of it.
Mhm.
I'm like, I think this is probably like one of my new favorites. This is so awesome.
Amazing. So this is what I typically hear. Either people absolutely love, they fall in love with these, or they're like, that is a little too funky for me. It is out there. But even though me personally, like if I walk behind the bar and it's been a really good day, and let's pretend that Macaulay says, you know what, pour yourself whatever you want, which does happen sometimes. He's like, get you a pour of whatever you want. We had a great day. Is this the one that I'm reaching for as, again, someone who has been assessing and tasting whiskey for a long time? Like, this is way outlier. So typically, no. Maybe in the dead heat of July, sure, because it's very refreshing and bright. Typically, I'm going to lean a little bit more classic, but this is one of those ones that I really enjoy sipping and evaluating because every time I drink it, I get something new and something different, and it's exciting. It's
Yeah,
just, this
this
one's
is
so
a
much fun.
this is a thinking sipper, right?
Hmm.
You want to sip it and be thinking about it. You're not even meditating on something else. You're meditating on this juice when you
Correct.
drink it. Yeah.
This is one where if I have some high school buddies that come to my house because I have way more than they do bottles, and we might go through 17 different tastings or whatever of stuff. This is one that I don't have something in my collection that tastes like this. This is
Hmm.
one that I'd love to, and I like to have a whole gamut, whether it's scotches or Irish
Hmm.
or Japanese or bourbons or rye or whatever. And so one of my questions was, is anybody going to Kentucky and could pick me up a bottle? Because I'm in California.
um, and I can also, uh, you just give me a call at the whiskey house. We will, we help words. Blah, blah, blah. We will hold bottles for people. So I've had people, I've actually, honestly, had someone, the barrel that was in the thief room before the one that just came in. Again, they're all from the same lot, they're all sisters, but it was so popular. MW1, I believe, sold out. And when we got the new one in, I had a regular who does not live nearby, but he comes to visit every 2 months, called and was like, I'm going to need 2 cases of that bottled for the next time I come through town. And he was like, and send me an invoice and I'll pay for it right now and I'll pick it up then. And so we do that. If for those who are serious, but also we will, these are ones that we should always have at least one, if not more than one of. Like right now we have 3 different iterations of this one. Um, yeah. And I think you just need to come. It's just a good excuse to come through. Come see me.
Now, JB said this gives him Japanese whiskey vibes. Sarah,
I
are you concentrating more on Japanese whiskey?
So that's a good question. I'm currently one spot away from formalizing my group trip to Japan in November. And I will be at that point focusing more, once that's locked in, focusing on expanding my Japanese whiskey knowledge. Of all the Japanese whiskey I've had before, I would have to say it mostly, to me, most closely relates to Scotch. And the last time I was really trying a lot of Japanese whiskey was before I went to Scotland, and I didn't quite have the taste for it. Now that I've developed that more, and we have a great spot in town actually that's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 blocks from me, a really nice sushi restaurant called Omakase, and the owner, he's a huge whiskey nerd, and so we talk bourbon all the time, but then he's got all these whiskeys from all over, and Japanese whiskey being one of them. And so I'm trying to learn a bit more through just locally, through him, and home that. But I don't like to count my chickens or whatever, count my eggs before they hatch. And I am still one spot away from finalizing this trip. So I don't want to get too excited yet.
So what you're saying is if anybody wants to go to Japan with you and a
What
group
I'm
of
saying
people,
is, yeah, if anyone wants to go to Japan with me, there are plenty of spots available. I've got a handful of people that have been on trips. Honestly, everyone that's booked so far has been on both the Scotland and or Ireland trip with me, and they rebooked for Japan, because they know I like to have a good time. Like, it's about, like I said before, it is about the whiskey. It's about what's in the bottle, but it's also about what we're doing and who we're spending time with, and the experience that we're having. And that's what I'm really passionate about. So I think the trip includes a trip to, there's like a Tokyo whiskey library, and there's a distillery over there. I want to, off the top of my head, don't ask me. There, a distillery trip, and there's like a custom glass cutting. Like you basically form your own glass, whiskey glass. Those are some of the activities centered around whiskey, but a lot of it is also like going to street food markets and doing a tea ceremony, which again is not whiskey, but I think the act of experiencing hospitality, of eating and drinking in different ways, is really important. And I always think of like, how can I take these things back and incorporate it into the experience that I give my guests? So yeah,
where can people find out about that?
that is a really good question. Trovatrip.com, if you search my name, or Japan trip. And I am working on putting that out more publicly. I'm also working on a YouTube channel. Yeah. And it will be currently under Will Work for Bourbon, which is my Instagram handle, which is where if you want to know about the trip, let me know. Just send me a message, and I can give you the link. If you can't find it through, it's TROVA, trovatrip.com. If you can't find it through there, I am a Will Work for Bourbon on Instagram, and I can send you the info. But that is my current working YouTube handle until further notice. I haven't decided what I want to name it, and I just decided the other day I can either wait until I figure it out, or I can start now and then figure it out when it happens. Oh, thank you. Someone dropped the link. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And nobody's ever been around Sarah, I wasn't on one of the trips, but I was on a get together with Sarah, consummate host, very caring, very charismatic, just an all around great gal.
You stop. Don't make me blush.
There, I do have a question about the single malt. Like I
Yes.
said before, we were at the whiskey house just after Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
and we bought one of the bottles of the single malt in the red ale.
Yes.
Was that likely the MW1 barrel that you mentioned before?
If the label is peach, if it looks like this but is orange or peach colored, then no, it was not the one from the thief program. If it looks like, one moment please.
Well, here, we've got one from the
Wait,
thief
show it to me.
program.
Oh, yes. That would be it. That would be that.
Okay, because I know this is a bourbon that we bought, but the single malt, we looked it up in our nerd spreadsheet, and we've got that down in the bunker.
Oh, amazing. So yeah, the one that you would have had at Thanksgiving, we got basically in the thief program. And while we're talking about this, I'm actually going to go ahead and pour our blunt blend, which is the 8-year Armagnac and Madeira rye, just so that, you know, I don't know what time zone everyone else is in, but I'm in Eastern time. So, and I do have to work in the morning. But I'm also in no rush. However, I want to keep it moving on. So I'm going to pour a little bit of this blunt blend. Shoot, what was I saying? We were talking about oh yes, you were there at Thanksgiving. Oh, I remember now. Okay. So when we're doing the single barrels in the thief program, like the barrels are sitting there and we're using a variety of tools to extract the liquid from the barrel. And a thief is the most common thing, right? But it gets to a certain point. If a barrel is on its side, stored like typically how you see barrels stored in ricks, it gets like if this is the barrel and it gets low, my thief won't reach. So I have to start using what's called a dipping dog or a copper dog, which is sort of like, think of like a well bucket, but it's more like straight and narrow than like a bucket. So we drop this thing in and it goes glug, 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 glug and fills up. And then we take it out and we pour it. Well, when it gets again to a certain point, all you're getting is barrel char in there. Like we're getting some liquid, but we're mostly getting barrel char. And that's how we as a team know that it's time to go ahead and dump that barrel, filter the char out, or strain. I guess we should say not filter is kind of a hot button word. Strain that char out, bottle it, and send it on its way and get something new in. And so that's what happened. Probably in February, I would say February or early March, with the one that you tried that was in that room, MW1, I believe. Now we have a new one in instead. And so we've got several others that are kind of on their way out. And that's how we decide. It's like if it's full of char and I can't get a clean pour out of it, then it's got to go.
It was the favorite one that I had when we were there.
Amazing. Well, I'll tell you what, I like the new one even better. I'm sorry if that's not helpful.
And the nose on the blunt blend is really nice.
So like I said, we scrounged up, had to repurchase some Blunt Blend Volume 1 from some random place in Texas in order to buy it back and bring it to the whiskey house so that we could do a volume 1 through 3 tasting, which I led earlier today for a small group. And in doing so, it's really cool to see the progression of how Macaulay has honed his balance and understanding of the things that the factors at play with blunt blend. Like we've got 95.5 ryes that we're working with. How minty are they? How baking spice forward are they? How does that play with the Madeira or the Armagnac? How do we balance those things out? And it's really cool to see the progression. And I will say volume 2, which was last year's release, was more Madeira heavy. So it had way more like big red orchard fruit notes. This one, volume 3, I think leans more Armagnac. So you get, I call it a Fig Newton. Fig Newton nose, Fig Newton palate, sort of like that jammy stone fruit / graham cracker note on the nose and the front palate. And on the finish, I get more of that, where that Armagnac comes in with a little bit of dry spice, that tobacco.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for any Madeira finish, especially if I'm going to be out on the porch smoking a cigar, which I will be as soon as we're done here. Which I'll probably take the rest of this out there.
I'm like, why wait? Just take us out there with you.
I've got the lighting and the camera and
Oh,
I
okay.
was recording stuff earlier, so
Fair enough. Fair enough. I won't bully you.
He's also got the fan set up to blow his hair,
Smoke
whole kit and
machine,
He's
caboodle.
got the whole thing going on.
smoke machine, and the disco lights.
The fog machine. He's got the haze in the background for ambiance.
Makes the bottles look awesome. This is
I love
so
it.
interesting. It's the marriage between the Madeira and the Armagnac, and I agree with you. I think I'm getting a bit more Armagnac than Madeira out of it, but it's so complex and so interesting.
It's very layered.
I like this.
Do you have one that's just an Armagnac finish?
So yes, actually, um, some of my favorite single barrels that we've had are we do some 10 plus year Armagnac finishes. Actually, it's bourbon night. Chad, and I selected I believe an 11 and a half year Armagnac finish, also known as barrel code AT40, that they did earlier. I guess it was last fall. It would have been last fall. That was for a long time my number one favorite thing on the bar. And I did those blind. So yes, I'm biased, but blind is blind. And then my current number 2 bottle on our bar is an 8.5 year single barrel bourbon that is Madeira finished. And I love a Madeira finish. And I've learned that I really love a Madeira finish rye. I just helped select one to bring onto our new menu. It is a Madeira finished rye. I think it's 9 years, and it has this like really rich raisiny note, almost like raisinets. If you're into that, some people aren't. Raisin is a divisive note, but yeah, very raisinette note. Come here, come see.
I think it's funny though that Jane, you said you're really tasting the Armagnac here, and I love Armagnac, and I'm more tasting the Madeira here. So that's why I asked if they had any with just Madeira, with just an Armagnac finish.
We do, yeah, both.
But actually, now that you've said you have Madeira only and Armagnac only, of course I want to taste both of those and compare them to this. So
if you ever come in, we'll set you. One of my favorite things to do if I am behind the bar, if anyone ever asks me if I'm around, is we do a craft your own flight. So we've got some preset flights for the bar, but then my favorite thing is as spirit guide, I call it whiskey matchmaking. I try to pick based on like I'll listen to you and then I'll build you a flight based on what you say. And so earlier today, someone told me that they really like this is funny, like really vegetal pickle ryes. Like they want things that taste like pickles and vegetables and very rye heavy. And so I built a flight on that. And I think that's cool. Like again, I have a portfolio at the bar of about 100 different things I can choose from. And so I can customize it to you. And that's one of my favorite things to do. Anytime I go somewhere and I'm on the clock and someone does something like that, personalizes something for me, it makes me feel really good. I always remember that. So like I love giving that back to other people.
I have Josh and Aaron's stuff and whiskey Madeira finished bourbon.
We did that one together.
And I'm getting sad because it's lower than halfway and I only got one bottle.
Aren't they a delight? I love them.
They are so sweet.
May I kindly request a brief intermission?
Absolutely.
For myself. I'll be back in, give me 90 seconds.
No problem.
All right. I'll be right back.
We'll speak
now we can
amongst
talk
ourselves.
about it.
You can look at my painting.
There we go.
We're not looking at the painting. We're looking at the bottles.
Also,
Yeah.
that cool fireplace.
Yeah.
It is
I know.
cool.
I keep looking at the tile, trying to figure out if it's actually portraits or if it's just the way it looks to me. So cool. Don't forget that I've got 2 glasses to raffle off at the end here, and I'm gonna remember to take the photo before we've actually drunk all of our samples.
And for those who haven't watched, it's Bourbon Night, which was the YouTube channel. She was one of the 2 people on until last May. It's really interesting. She has a really great ability to explain what she's tasting. And so even though it's, a year old, so, whatever, for
Mhm.
annual releases, it'll be a little bit old. But if you look it up, like it's one of the 3 or 4 I like to watch a lot. She's
It's really good.
Good.
I enjoyed the heck out of the ones I've seen.
yeah.
So
Ooh,
cool.
so Jason, you like water? And the funny thing, I poured a second tiny bit to taste, and then I forgot. I did it so I would put water in it, but I drank it without putting the water in it because it's just good. So
Yeah, everything just really rounded out. Like there was a little for me there was like a little bit of separation from one note to the next, but then with the water it just really rounded everything out and kind of was the glue that put the whole glass together.
cool. Wow.
This is my molder.
Hello.
This is Bear.
Oh wow.
He's
You
big
have a
boy.
void cat.
That is
Yeah.
a big cat.
That's a big
He's
kitty.
very big.
That's a
Uh,
big kitty.
I rescued him last year. He's 7. I guess he's 8 now. Anyway,
Yeah.
he's the best. He's just a big boy.
He's an excellent molder.
He's
I-
he's very great.
He's
He's
bigger than
weird.
I think if
He's weird enough.
He's
I
bigger
feel
than
like he needs to be on a dark arts label.
Sarah,
I
like
think
how
if I
natural
saw that
it
thing
is.
coming down the street, I would think it was a panther or something.
Yeah, so my landlord calls him my house panther. He has a really grump face, but he's a very
Aw.
sweet boy.
Oh, he's adorable.
He's so
Thanks.
cute.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
That's
a
my
big
baby.
That's awesome.
He's a big cat.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Thanks. I'm cat lady now. I'm okay with it.
Love it.
Both of mine are rescues.
Yeah, they're the best. He's like so grateful for everything. I'm like, calm down. It's just attention.
Yeah.
He's
Have
a
you
boy.
started feeding them churros?
Oh, don't say that word out loud. Yes, we know about a churro in this house. Yes.
Yeah.
He yells at me if he doesn't get one sometime.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make this into cat hour.
We can have cat
We're-
hour. It's totally
We're
okay.
on the blunt blend.
We love pets.
We love pets. My senior Australian Shepherd is also wandering around. So if you hear like tippy tappy claws, that's her. She's maybe it's like just a little touch of dementia. She'll do laps around the house until she decides what it is she wants to do. So
My Shih Tzu is waiting for me to be finished so I can go in and take him upstairs and give him his nighttime treat.
oh.
If you guys see a blur in the background, that's my German Shepherd mix. She's 70 pounds of chaos chasing a fly right now. So
70 pounds of chaos. I love that.
yeah,
Chasing the fly is the best part.
yeah. I'm like, hey, get it. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, my dog just went out the door. She's over me. So
Oh, she said, I'm done.
she's been sitting on my feet this whole time, and she's just like, nope, you're too hot. I'm leaving. So I really like this blunt blend. I'm kind of shocked because I really don't like rye.
So this one, Macaulay came up with. This is again the 3rd release. So we were founded in April of 2023. This one came out, I think, for our 1st anniversary in April to mark our anniversary of 420 Blunt Blend. If you've known Macaulay, ever met him, talked to him, you'll understand. Also, we have Sherry Garcia and Ripple Rye, all Grateful Dead references. Like he's a jam band guy. You'll get it. He dabbles in all things. And so this is
cigars.
right. Cigars,
Yeah,
of course.
cigars, yeah.
Yes. No, but he will publicly say, and he calls it a blunt blend because he wanted to do a cigar blend. But he said, I'm not calling it a cigar blend because I don't smoke cigars. I smoke blunts, and so we're calling it a blunt blend. And then patented that name, and now we're the only ones that can do a blunt blend. And Whiskey Advocate has recognized it as the very first whiskey created with cannabis pairing in mind. And people always ask me, they're like, "What do you think about that? How do you do that pairing?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I don't do that pairing." And it's not no judgment. I just would go nonverbal, so like it wouldn't work out for me. Like I just can't. It's not for me. He'll have to get on and tell you about that. That pairing and that the idea behind it, because people are always asking me what I think about it, and I'm like, I have not tried it. Again, not against it, just I do better with just the alcohol.
One vice at a time.
Yes, for me, I one thing at a time.
Yeah. Uh,
But I understand, like, when we talk about other cigar blends, I think a lot of people think about one of the big ones that stands out to me is like the Joseph Magnus. And we think about those like layering of that rich fruitiness of the Madeira and the smoky tobacco stone fruit of the Armagnac, and then the baking spice with that subtle hint of mint that's almost like gives it that effervescence, that like brightening lightning thing. With that 95.5 rye. And I could understand how the textures and the flavor combinations and that feeling of that effervescence of that slight mint note on the finish would lend itself to imbibing in that way. Or with a cigar, whatever you choose.
so interesting. I can't decide if it goes on my list or not.
Well, I always tell people that I don't make their decisions easy. Like whenever I do tastings, they're like, "But I want to buy them all," and I'm like, That's my job, is to make it hard. Like we do our best, to make it as difficult as possible for you to walk away with just one." So the next territory that we're going to move into is, again, like the single malt was a departure, is going to be a departure. And this one is one that I know that a lot of people have. Do you hear the tippy taps? Can we hear them?
Just barely.
Yeah, she's just tippy tapping. The Amburana world, which I know is very divisive. I personally thought that I hated Amburana. And no one's paid me to say this. They do pay me, but not to say this. I thought I hated Amburana for the past few years since it really kind of came on the scene. And what I learned was I don't like Amburana finished bourbons. And the reason is bourbon being corn dominant. I don't think corn as a sweet grain can stand up to the just absolute intensity. I mean, Amburana is like throwing a punch, right? Like it's a very strong, very bold influence that happens really quickly. And in my opinion, a corn dominant whiskey can't absorb that and maintain its character, but a rye dominant whiskey can. And so that is what we do. We do 95.5 ryes. And the next two that we'll try are both going to have an Amburana influence on them. The first one is Amburana only. This is part of our core lineup, the Toasted Amburana Rye. This one's going to be 95.5 rye MGP. The one that I have in front of me is 7.5 years at the youngest in that blend. I think that's what's in front of you as well. Always
Yes.
bottled at 108 proof. People call it, the most common thing I hear is the Cinnamon Toast Crunch Rye. And again, it's going to be for some people and not for some other people, and that's fine. For me, is this ever going to be the one that I'm personally going to reach for and eat of all the things that we do? No. However, this is one of my favorite cocktail ingredients. If you remember earlier, I was talking about the nitro espresso martini that I was working on. That's my ingredient. It's the Amburana rye with some cold brew and 2 different types of banana liqueur to bring out those like tropical coconut notes in it. we do this in tiki cocktails. So if you think about like a traditional tiki cocktail might use like a spiced rum. Instead of a spiced rum, we're using a spiced rye.
It's funny that you said cinnamon toast crunch because I nosed it and tasted it, and I wrote down in my notes cinnamon toast crunch all
You
day
did it.
long. I mean, it is
Amazing.
amazing that it tastes like that and smells like that in a great way. It's like delicious. And I'm not a rye guy. I have not had many ryes that I've liked. I have to say I'm mostly into bourbon, but this is really good.
I think that it does, again, the 95.5 rye does a really nice job. And we keep a very close eye. Again, part of our job as a tasting panel is to keep a close eye on the influence of those Amburana oak staves to make sure that we're not just saying, oh, they rest for 3 months or it rests for 6 months. Like we're tasting to make sure that it doesn't go over. In my opinion, Amburana is like, think about steeping a cup of really strong black tea, like an Earl Grey tea or something even stronger. I don't know. And if you leave it on the counter for 5 or 10 minutes, you're good. But if you forget about that for 20 or 30 minutes and you come back and try to sip it, it's done. It's way oversteeped. It's tannic. Like it's not viable anymore. And I feel personally that way about Amberana. I think that that's reflected through Macaulay's decisions. I think he also feels that way. Um, in that we keep a close eye on it and we want to keep that balance in between the character of the 95.5 rye, but the Amberana is playing off of that and keeping it in balance.
There, I agree with you 100% about the Amburana and bourbon as opposed to rye. When Amburana first came into the market, it was all bourbons.
All
And
bourbons.
I had the RD1 and a couple others, and it was interesting because it was different. And
Right.
then somebody told me that Dark Arts had an Amburana rye out there. And I was on a week-long quest to find one in the Minnesota market. And there was a barrel pick at one of the stores, and I went and got it. And this is what Amberana is supposed to be used for.
I think so. Yeah, I agree completely. I saw a comment a second ago and I didn't get to read the whole thing, but it said something about Girl Scout cookies, like it reminds them of Girl Scout cookies. And then I thought, imagine this paired with and again, I don't know where in the world you are. So for me, it's a caramel delight. I think other people, it's a samosa. I'm not really sure. But it's that. Is that right? Yeah. So it's like a
Yeah.
shortbread cookie topped with caramel, coconut, and chocolate. Imagine this with that. Again, when we did I talked before about the Barely Legal with the Whopper. We did a Halloween candy pairing. I did this with an almond joy, and I thought that was really nice with the coconut and the chocolate and the almond. It worked out really well. Are there any other Amberana ryes in the market? Was that question that I just read, and that I know of off the top of my head. So I have to say, since I've been out of the It's Bourbon Night weekly review circuit and I don't know as much about what's going on outside of my world, I try to stay dialed in and I like to taste other things that people are doing. But I know I'm less aware now of all the things that are available. From what I know, if there are any other Amberana rye finishes, there are few. I couldn't name them, if any. I'm sure there are, but I couldn't name them.
So when I was opening the bottles and pouring at the beginning of the evening, this one had a drip. So I had to, had to lick it off, right? So it was the first taste for me of the whole evening was just a little bit of this on my tongue, and it tasted interesting. I was like, well, I'm gonna enjoy tasting this. But right now, after we've had these other six, You know, I'm gonna revisit this another time when I have a fresh palate.
I
Because
think
right now it's a little too strange, divergent,
Mhm.
but I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying I gotta
So
approach it again. Yeah.
I agree with you. Like the single malt, it is an outlier in all the other things that we've tasted and what the traditional world of a product lineup might look like. The American single malt is at one end, and the Amburana Rise are at the other. And then we've got everything in between that are maybe some of them are a little more classic, a little more traditional, especially with the wine finishes and things and the stay finishes, French oaks, whatever. But yeah, the Amburana is something to experience on its own. Like I said, I love this one in a cocktail. Personally, it's my most favorite. Anytime I'm behind the bar, it's my very most favorite thing to experiment with. Like I said, I did that this in coffee, which you wouldn't necessarily think immediately, but people really love cinnamon and coffee together. And so I thought, well, if people like cinnamon in coffee, this is cinnamony and it just works. So I highly recommend if you like any kind of coffee mixed drink that you pick up a bottle of the Amburana Rye for that. It's excellent in that. But yeah, it's just it skews more desserty a lot of the time. And so that's also the other reason like I wanted to place it last because Amburana is really going to stick with our palate. It's going to influence us for the rest of the evening, but also it reads to me more desserty. And the last one that we're going to finish with is that maple Amburana Rye. So we're going to take it even just a little step further than where we're at. We're right now we're having the toasted Amburana Rye from our core lineup. The next one that we're going to have in the final pour is our Ripple Rye, which is our fall, where the blunt blend that we had was our spring limited annual release. The Ripple Rye is our fall limited annual release. That is essentially the same DNA as this toasted Amburana Rye that we're having right now, but it is a cask strength version. Um, Although not too much higher proof. The one I have in front of me, Ripple 2, 110.74 proof. Again, I believe that's what you should have in front of you, something like that.
Yes.
If not that, perfect. And so it's the same DNA, just not proofed down. And then we take it a step further and rest it in an X maple syrup cask. So you're getting the baking spice from that rye, you're getting the cinnamon coconut from that amburana, and you're getting that maple and oak from that barrel aged, that X maple barrel.
So
And whenever you're ready,
you could put this in your morning coffee with a little bit of whipped cream, and
Mhm.
instead of calling it an Irish coffee, you could call it a Kentucky coffee.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm giving that to you for free. I'm
Think
gonna
for
let you
free?
trademark it. Yeah, because you could do it
You
with
should charge a
both.
consulting fee.
You could do it with the maple. I haven't tasted the maple yet, but I bet you that in coffee, and I'm not a coffee drinker, just to be clear. I bet you that in
Coffee
coffee
drinker
with
right
whipped
here.
cream.
Why we
Yeah.
even put it? Why even put it in coffee? I would just pour this straight over the pancakes.
So there is an
Okay.
Instagram channel or an Instagram page called Whiskey and Pancakes, I think. And we
Yeah,
sent him a bottle of the Ribble Rye because of that with the pancake maple syrup pairing. And he ended up doing a like it wasn't like a I just was like, you need to have this bottle because it fits. And he was like, well, we typically charge a blah 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 to do a feature. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just want you to have it and you do what you want with it. And then like a month or so later, he was like, here's an Instagram video of me drinking this with pancakes. And I was like, okay, so I prefer that. Like you organically tried it and we're like, yeah, this is fitting. Versus me being like, here's X number of dollars to feature this on your channel. I just would rather like it can speak for itself.
you bring up a good point that I detest
Mm.
when you said that.
This is the reason why when and I believe it's still the case, but in the 10 years that I was working with its Bourbonite and co-owning that, and still to this day, Like, yes, I work for dark arts and I believe in but it's because I believe in the product. I never worked for a brand before, because I'm very hesitant about that. I also believe in this because I get to be on the tasting panel. I get to have a say. If I didn't, that would be a little trickier for me. I have always had a problem with, you can't take money from somebody and remain unbiased. It's just not feasible. Now, if Buffalo Trace, in terms of, hey, we have this new tour that we want to tell people about, we want to sponsor your whatever video to show people what that tour is, but you don't have to talk about the whiskey. I'm okay with that because I don't have to say yay or nay, buy this, don't buy this. I'm going to show you what this experience is like, and then you get to decide for yourself if you want to do it or not. But you can't do, hey, here's our review of Eagle Rare, sponsored by Buffalo Trace. Like, that's not how that works. And you could do it once for one nice payday, and then you've just now shot your credibility forever. Like, it's just not worth it. And I would never do that. And I've talked to our, my dark arts people and our owners about wanting to do my own channel. And they're like, well, can we do it together? And I'm like, no, unfortunately we can't, because that's not organic. I can't, it will honestly hurt you worse than it would help you. Like, it's just not the way it works. It has to be organic. You can't buy that. So anyway, wow, is this my video diary now? This is what happens after 8 samples. Now you're getting the real inside
You
scoops.
you get Sarah with an H, as we used to say.
Oh, not quite yet.
Yeah.
Maybe if I down this one.
Okay.
That's a real deep cut.
I know.
Okay,
Yeah.
we got to turn the cameras on, everybody.
Yep. So I'm going to put
I was just thinking we gotta turn the cameras off.
So just quick,
Not
this
quite.
Ripple Rye seems to be sold out on your website, and it's, man, hard to find. I did a quick Google search. It's not available in many places. Are you going to be restocking soon?
So we do have it at the Whiskey House, which again, obviously is the one place. It is distributed to certain markets, so it may or may not be in your area. We do have a locator on the website, if that's helpful.
And you froze.
Uh-oh, we just lost Sarah. Well,
She's
in the dead air point while we're waiting for Sarah to reload here, everybody come back on camera so we can take a photo. Oh no, she's still frozen.
Your Midwest just came through there.
There she goes.
Hi,
I'm
welcome
sorry,
back.
I'm sorry. A phone call came through and it really just threw the whole thing off.
No worries. While we're paused, everybody raise a glass. We have a tradition of a cheers and photo. So, Sarah, thank you once again for joining us and for this absolutely stellar conversation tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Smile at your camera. Oh, wait, I gotta clear my screen here 1 second so I can take a photo without weird notes on top. Cheers. Okay, let's see if everybody's eyes are open. We'll be good. Hey, that's pretty good. All right, we're good. Cheers. Awesome sauce. Okay, now you can go hide again if you feel like it, but stick around. So are we ready? Are we still savoring the Amburana, or are we ready?
Ooh, I'm on the Ripple Rye.
Okay.
Apologies. I don't
poured
think
it, and
I
then I was like,
formally
wait, I
announced.
have to wait. I have to wait.
Yeah, I'm on the Ripple Rye. So this is our fall limited annual release. This one reminds me of like, and this is one that where I wouldn't sit just the regular Amburana Rye. Not I wouldn't. It's just not what I'm reaching for most often. Now the Ripple Rye reminds me of, and I'm not a sports girly. I know, shocking to most of you. But if I live in a sports town, And if I were to go to a tailgate and it was like a crispy fall morning for football and I wanted to bring something to share, or I'm sitting out at a bonfire or something, like this is the thing. Like it's got the spice complexity of the rye. It has the Amburana. It has the maple. So it's like lightly sweet, but not overly. Kind of like the honey. We're doing the maple. We're trying to keep it in balance. Um, this
Yeah,
one
you
I
did
just
good on
really
this one.
enjoy.
Yeah,
Hmm?
this one, again, the reason I have to come back to the Amburana another time with clean palate is because it is so different and unique. This one is more balanced, and the maple, what you did with the maple on it,
Yeah.
it has it balanced. It's easier to sip it. So
Agreed. I think
yeah,
it pulls it back. Again, for me, this one's more complex, and so I would sip this one neat versus the straight up amber on a rye. If you want to sip that neat, no, I'm fully in support. But for me, I prefer that one as a cocktail ingredient. Um, although I have a lot of people come in to do guided tastings with us who tell me they don't like whiskey at all. And then we get to the amber on a rye, the just the regular toasted amber on a rye, and they're like, oh, I love this. I didn't think I liked whiskey, but I love this. And I think it's because it's more akin to like a spiced rum. It's got that with the Amburana being used in also like cachaça, which is a South American rum type of beverage. It skews less whiskey and more, I don't know, it's just something else. More rum-ish, more, yeah, the lines are blurred between whiskey and another spirit. And I think that draws some people who are not whiskey people in. And I'm always looking for a bridge for non-whiskey people, to bring them in. We're trying to convert or spread the gospel.
This is the Ripple Rye reminds me a lot of the Angel's Envy rum cask, which and both and but you're doing a better job. I would not drink these throughout the year, but come Christmas time,
Christmas.
it's Christmas in a glass.
For a long time, the Angel's Envy Rye, until I found this, was my once a year tradition for of when the Christmas tree is going up and the ornaments are going on, and I'm gonna sip something while I'm doing that because I'm me. And it was always the Angel's Envy Rye until I found this. And once I found this, I realized like how much sweeter. Again, no hate. For a long time, that was my thing. But it gives like way more maple syrup, like waffles covered in maple syrup. It's giving Waffle House. And I love Waffle House. Maybe after this. But the the Ripple Rye, in my opinion, is more balanced towards the whiskey than the maple or like that sweetness. And once I had this, I realized like the Angel's Envy is maybe too sweet. The Angel's Envy Rye is skewing too sweet for me personally. But it still converted me on like a sweet finished rye, like a holiday rye. Angel's Envy was the invitation into that world. But I'm very much more firmly in the Ripple Rye camp now. And again,
I mean,
they do pay me, but they don't pay me to say that.
that I could see either one of these two Amburanas, but especially the Amburana without the maple, in a eggnog,
Mm.
right?
There have been some experiments with a I want to say bourbon cream, but it's I guess a whiskey cream. Like a lot of places do a bourbon cream, but we have been playing with the Amburana rye in a cream based liqueur, which I have tasted. If we talk about this Amburana rye as cinnamon toast crunch, think about cinnamon toast crunch milk.
Dang.
Like, people love rum chata. Like it would be like the dark arts version of rum chata, but better. Now that is super secret inside, not secret. That's inside info, and then it's not on the horizon as of this moment. But that is something that we're playing with internally, and may one day become a thing. So stay tuned.
That if you manage to do it right, oh my God.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. Like I'm not a bourbon cream girl, and I think that the cream that they're using is a non-dairy base. which for me is huge because while I love dairy, it's not, it's unrequited. We don't love each other back. Uh, and so they're doing like a non-dairy base, and that's actually something I could drink. I could put that in my drinks, and hopefully that's something that could come to fruition before
What's
the
your favorite?
holidays. Hmm?
I liked the signal.
What?
They're talking amongst themselves.
Oh, okay.
We're doing a poll right now to
A
see which
poll.
one we like the best.
Got it. The best of all of them.
So if
So
we
Oh, that's
visit,
tough. Don't ask
if
me to
we
choose my favorite child.
if we visit Lexington, and besides coming to see dark arts, what else is in the area that we should visit? Because Lexington seems to, unfortunately, be the little brother to Louisville and doesn't get the attention that it should, even though I love Lexington.
It's getting it. That's changing. It is unfortunate, but it's changing. Lexington, especially the distillery district. So we, Dark Arts, is at what's called the Lexington Distillery District. And the distillery district is predominantly anchored by the historic James E. Pepper Distillery campus. So James E. Pepper once owned the entirety of the property of the distillery district. And then when they went out of business,
And we lost her.
Phone call.
whatever. Wait, am I here?
There you go.
There you are.
You're half
Back.
there.
James E. Pepper used to own the whole distillery, and then we lost it, or the whole block, and then we lost
I'm
it.
so sorry. Stupid Wi-Fi. I'm glad, honestly, I'm impressed that we made it this far with no Wi-Fi loss. Yay. So they owned the entirety of the distillery district. That was the James E. Pepper Distilling Campus. And then they went out of business, went defunct, brand was abandoned in, and I should know the exact year because I give guest experiences, but I don't. Late 50s, early 60s, I want to say 60s. And then that whole area abandoned, went to ruin, broken glass. Literally, there's a railroad next to it. And when we say wrong side of the tracks, that was the wrong side of the tracks. And then about 10, 12 years ago, people started to buy up plots down there. And then a group came in and bought the whole thing and decided that they were going to revitalize it. And so within the last 5 or 6 years, it's really flourished. So now there's a cidery, 2 breweries. James E. Pepper has moved back into a portion of the building. We're down there.
Is that what,
Barrel House,
is that where Goodfellas is?
that's where Goodfellas is, which is also like the Wise Guys Lounge, a cocktail bar, very high end. They do a lot of barrel picks as well. So really great bourbon selection. Barrel House Distilling, which is another small craft distillery that has their own restaurant called, or bar and restaurant called Elkhorn Tavern. And then across the street is the Burl Brew, and also there's multiple music venues down there. And then about another street over, 2 minutes away, RD1 Spirits is now over there. We are actually occupying their former space. And then on the other end of the street is Lexington Brewing and Distilling Company, which town branch. So there are 5 distilleries within 2 minutes or less of each other in the distillery district, plus a cidery, a couple of breweries, and a ton of places to eat, drink. There's a bowling alley, there's a secret wine bar down there, there's a dive bar, there's taverns, there's all kinds of stuff. And so if you're visiting Lexington, like, yes, you can stay in Lexington and go out to you can spend the afternoon going out to Wild Turkey and Castle and Key and Buffalo Trace and that and the other, but you can also spend it like an entire day within like a 1 mile radius of the distillery district and have a fantastic day. And you're going to try all craft stuff pretty much. And there's going to be plenty to do. We also now have a $1 shuttle that will take you to downtown from the distillery district, which is amazing. Like, that's the best public transportation Lexington has ever had.
And then I'm looking at the map right now, and for the coffee drinkers, there's also coffee shops nearby.
There is,
coffee
yep.
places, yeah.
Brevity is there's a hot local debate on how to pronounce it, but I say brevity, which is on the exact opposite. Like our back wall of dark arts touches their back wall. So they know us now by our coffee order. Every time someone from dark arts goes over, they're like, you want to this, and that. And we're all like, yeah, that's exactly what we want. And if you want to know my coffee order, it's 70% of the time straight up cold brew, black, no sugar, no cream. But sometimes I like an iced hazelnut latte, quad shot, almond milk. Just in case you wanted to know. Now you know a little bit more about me.
Good
Awesome.
to know.
Awesome.
So
And that's all I've got.
Sarah, I've got a nerd question on the Ripple Rye. Is the maple syrup aged and the Amburana aged then blended?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's a good
Oh,
question.
oh yes. No. This is. I am not fully plugged into the logistics of the Ripple in terms of the order of events. Again, I think it's not that it's proprietary. I just think that it's not like widely shared or specifically shared in order to create something that people can't just replicate. My understanding is that the Amburana barrels, so we will stave a ton of rye barrels with Amburana to create this. And we will pick ones that go in this blend, and then we will proof that down to 108. But we will also pick ones that we want to blend and put into Ripple Rye to go into a maple barrel to rest. I do not believe, so I believe that from my understanding, that the staving happens first and then it gets rested in the maple barrel. It's not my understanding that those things are happening at the same time. That we're pulling candidates from, because we're always going to make this, so we're pulling candidates of the pool that would go into this to go into the Ripple Rye. However, you only got me tonight and not Macaulay, who knows secrets to all, and I'm sorry you had to settle for me, but he is spinning many plates, and so it's me that you're stuck with, and I do not 100,000% know that answer.
I don't feel like we had to settle at all. You were
Oh, you're very sweet.
fabulous.
Thank you.
So as a
besides your-
sideways segue, do you want to take a guess at what the favorite pour was tonight?
Interesting.
I'm gonna go with the Sauterne.
Ooh, interesting.
I don't know. I actually don't know what the favorite
Yeah.
pour was, but
I'm actually a little surprised.
really,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
American single malt.
the
took
single
tonight.
malt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I told you,
Um,
people either
That was mine.
really love it
there
or they
was a
really
couple.
don't.
There were. That's double that more than anything else. The Amburana Oak took second, Blunt took third, and then Barely Legal and Toasted Mizunara tied for fourth.
This is not on my bingo card.
But you know
Yeah.
what? Just how the voting happens is we only get to choose one. We don't get to
Yeah.
choose like
There's
1, 2,
there's no
3,
ranked
4.
choice voting.
No.
There's
It's
no
pick
rank
one.
choice. Wow.
Right. And
I'm
so
terrified of doing ranked choice. I honestly,
Wow.
I think that would
That
be
sounds
my
like a
No
nightmare.
rank choice.
so the
Sounds like a
Sauterne
nightmare
could have
for
been
whoever's to have.
everybody's second choice, right? Which means it would have won the overall if we
The
had
reason that I
the
picked
ranked
it is
choice.
we had a lot of discussion about the flavors on that one, and so I thought maybe.
Yeah.
But
I don't get to vote because I'm hosting. I would have picked either the single malt or the Sauterne. They were pretty close to a tie for me. So
the single malt is, I'm not surprised because it, like I said, it's an outlier. So it's either going to be top or bottom. I find that it's either going to be your first favorite or your least favorite. First favorite doesn't really make sense, but you know what I mean? First favorite. Yeah, it's so unique and different, and there's so much to dig into there. It's very intriguing. So I can understand how that would be the winner.
See, I went with the Barely Legal because it's something that I know I could sit there and just drink the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It may not necessarily have been my favorite, but it's one that I will sit there and I'll drink and enjoy it. And it can be any time of the year. And I'm in Florida, so something a little lighter sometime is great.
Yeah. Understood. Yeah. And I love the Barely Legal. That's like I said, that's my workhorse. It can do no wrong in my book.
And until your counterpart wears your nail polish, nah, we want you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
That's awesome. So we have a raffle to do for a couple of glasses. Sarah, you're welcome to stay. I don't want to chase you away. I know it's late where you are.
It is past my bedtime.
Yeah. So anybody have
I hate to say goodbye, but I must, I think.
That's okay. Any final questions for Sarah before she leaves
Yes.
us?
Last
I have
question.
one quick question.
Go
How
ahead.
far off of 64 are you? Like,
Oh gosh, don't ask me that. I've only lived here my whole life. um not
Okay.
too far. So we are I want to say a mile and a half off of New Circle, which is like very well connected through the city. It's not, we're not like way out anywhere. It's very central.
I
We're
know
like
like where the castle is, the
5 minutes from
racetrack.
downtown. We're about 35 minutes from Castle and Key.
Okay.
And
Not
yeah,
Castle and Key, the
sorry.
castle there, the
Oh,
castle
the
there.
castle. So that's on Versailles Road. That would be like the outskirts of town. That's almost in between Versailles and that's pretty much Versailles Lexington line, which would be the
Okay.
outskirts. We're going to be in the middle of downtown. If you continue down Versailles Road, you will get to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I go up whenever I drive from Florida to Ohio. Sometimes I go across 64 and up 77.
You'd have to take a detour. You'd have to
But
take a detour.
it's a quick
Detours are
5
fun.
miles. I'm
Thanks
looking
for
at the
looking
map
it
right
up.
now.
I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
have mine.
It's a real straight shot. I'm actually deciding which hotel I'm going to stay at when I go there.
There you go.
Look at Jason.
Well,
Thank you
Okay, spin
for
the
all of
magic
this, Sarah.
wheel, Jane.
what's that?
Spin the magic wheel.
Well, should we let Sarah go?
Sarah, thank you so much for this
Thank
evening.
you.
It was
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely
you all.
wonderful. We still
I'm
appreciate
sorry if
you.
8 samples was too much, but I just wanted to really
now we
explore
want
with
more.
you all. And if you ever want to have me back, I'd be happy to come
We
on
will
next.
absolutely love to have you back. I'll have Vidim get in touch with you guys. No
Perfect.
problem.
Like I said, we've got like 100 different things, so I can easily choose new things for next time.
Awesome.
Yeah. And never apologize, as someone said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys are great.
Sarah.
Anytime.
This
Please
was
come to
fantastic. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thanks so
Thank
much,
you all.
Sarah.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye. Sorry, you have to look at my thumb.